Hi everybody, sorry I couldn't make it to the party, but I'm gonna just have to give you this video instead. Hang out with me for maybe 5 minutes, and I think you'll be glad you did. For those who don't know me, I'm Bill LeBlanc, worked at PG&E probably 1984, 1987, then hung out with most of you guys. On the list, holy cow, it's been a great career. And so Mike Sullivan, thanks for putting this all together and putting people on a boat, and I'm sure nothing could possibly go wrong with that scenario. All right, I'm gonna start with a story. I've got this list of you all who are coming to the party or were invited, so I'm gonna start with Dave Laybourne. Hey Dave, haven't seen you in a bit, but keeping track through Facebook, etc. So Dave and I were roommates freshman year and sophomore year at Claremont, what was used to known as Claremont Men's College, but they were women, so now they're Claremont McKenna College, and we were both in the 3-2 program that brought us to Stanford for engineering. And I went off to Colorado for my first job, and we went out of business because didn't have enough work to do. And then I worked for a Silicon Valley company called Calma, and pretty much, I don't know, 20% of us got laid off one day, and it was actually in the newspaper. It wasn't like Bill LeBlanc got laid off because he's lazy, but it was divisions get laid off. Dave somehow saw this in the San Francisco Chronicle and calls me up and says, I'm moving from the job that I have now to another job within PG&E. Do you want my old job? And I go, yeah, maybe, because I need a job badly, and this sounds like it's in the energy field. So I went up, interviewed with Paul Mahar. Hi, Paul. One of the meanest guys I've ever known, but anyway, no, Paul was fantastic boss, one of my best I've ever had, and high influence on me as far as attitude towards work, attitude towards helping people out. He was just awesome. So thanks, Paul. So anyway, Dave, I don't know what Dave was doing, but he gave me the agricultural interruptible program and the small commercial whatever program it was that we invented later. And so this whole department, as you know, for some reason, I was too young, I was 24, had no idea what I was doing, obviously, but I was in charge of a bunch of stuff, and they gave me money, so I spent the money with Mike Sullivan's help. I'll get to that as well. And so just an amazing ride. So one of my colleagues, and then, so Dan Engel was there, Bill Smith. And we had a pretty good time. After about a year, I decided that I needed to spread my wings a little inside of PG&E. And I got to know Mike. Hey, Mike. And Mike was just awesome because he was always doing experimental new stuff. He was a contractor like I was, a full-time contractor. I was full-time. And he was able to grab money from all over the place. And so I just watched Mike in awe as he kind of manipulated all this stuff. And he said, Bill, why don't you do a value of service study? And I said, I have no idea what that is, but sure. So we did a value of service study, and I started studying backup generation. Then I remember starting to look at electric vehicles. I don't know why no one stopped me from doing all this stuff. And I remember the guy who was in charge of electric vehicles at PG&E also had a club membership to an all-men's club in downtown San Francisco. I went to lunch there. Oh my God. Talking about sexist. It was insane, but I got to experience it. So Mike, thank you for leading me, leading me into a life where I was doing product development pretty much every place I went, and really pushing the envelope on what is possible and what we can do. All right, going back to my job. So the small commercial interruptible program, I didn't want it to be an interruptible program, so we said, okay, let's make this a pricing only program. So we kind of invented peak pricing program, and I kind of copied what Dan was working on with real-time pricing. So we just had a peak price signal. We went to Spencer's Gifts in the mall, and we bought stoplights, big stoplights, red, green, yellow, and we put air conditioner switches in the back of these things. And when the price was going to go high, we put it on yellow, and an hour later, the price went to 35 cents. Guess what? it really worked. It worked extremely well, and then nobody really copied it. At least we're still working on this stuff. We were working on TOU rates, in 1984, and they're still doing experiments with it. So thank you, evaluators. I think Dennis Keene started all of that evaluation stuff in the country. So other folks, Bill Miller, would hang out with him. You were in a different department, but we got to know each other. And let me see who else. Raphael Friedman. Let's talk a little bit about Raphael. So Raphael is one of the people who does follow me to some extent on LinkedIn, because I post a lot there, mostly about electric vehicles. And Raphael, I remember most vividly, I was doing a keynote at the evaluation conference, which I call the IPICAC conference, for good reason. Rafi decided to sit in the front row and be a real life heckler, just like a comedy club, and I think they had to remove him from the room. You know how many security guards are at IPICAC conferences. So other folks there, Peter Turnbull, hi, Terry, no, Terry, you weren't there. Let me see, Peter Turnbull, Rich Shear. So Rich, I had never met you, and Dave talked about you constantly. You were like this god. Oh, Rich Shear did this, Rich Shear did that. You ought to meet Rich. And then you just stayed in Washington, D.C., so I barely got to see you. But when we hung out, it was great. Now I'm going to tell a story about Ren Orens. So Ren Orens was in the different department. So we were like 23. The oldest person was like 27. And we just thought that was normal. But anyway, I'll get back to it. So Ren was always running I guess they were models or spreadsheets or something. So he could have been 1 year older than me, maybe, Ren, he was the one who told everybody, figured out how much they were going to pay for the rest of their lives to PG&E. So he would just press buttons and say, okay, small commercial gets to pay this much, and large commercial this amount, and residential, and then blah, blah, blah. He just had so much power, and he didn't keep the power. He started another company, E3, which has been incredibly successful. So congratulations, Ren, on your great run in the industry. But remember, it started with all that power you were given as a youngster, which we never should have given you too much power. So that was fun. Other folks on the list, Dave Rubin, we used to hang out together and talk about kids, because I think our kids were born almost at the same time. Steve George, I ran into at Zenergy for the first time. Andy, again, I can't remember. I know we were Bearcat Chamberlain. Of course, Ahmed Faruqi is the person that I converse with more or less most regularly, because I think 24/7. Ahmed, you are on LinkedIn, so that's always been fun. Love the work that was done at LBL, so Ed Vine. Fantastic stuff that you all have done with Chuck Goldman there, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to say. So my time at PG&E, just to be kind of frank, and you probably all knew this, is I learned just massive amounts, and I used that information throughout my career, where I went to Bearcat Chamberlain, and first I went to EPRI with Bill Smith, and then Paul Mahar started the week before I did, so we had kind of this California coalition from PG&E, plus Phil Hanser, who was from SMUD, but it was great. And then after about a year, I'm going, man, PG&E is really kind of on the slow side, even though there's all this ability to do innovative stuff. But I really, really liked our load management department. I had a lot of free reign to do stuff that they probably shouldn't have let me do. And loved working at EPRI and Bearcat and Chamberlain. Then I went to eSource for a number of years. But I spent the last couple of years, I never worked for Simple Energy, but I like this shirt, and it's the only energy shirt I have, and I'm in Costa Rica. So I've been working exclusively on electric vehicles for the last 2 years, and I will share with you not only this video, but the thing that I don't understand it. I'm, quote, best known for these man on the street videos and I think Jay Leno and Jimmy Kimmel copied me. But I just ask people questions on the street like, what's a kilowatt hour? And they have no idea. And so these are really funny, and utilities all over the country have used them for training, and I use them for entertainment when I'm doing my talks and stuff. But oh, Grayson Hefner, this is probably the most important story of the whole thing besides the beginning. All right, Grayson, also in a different department. Everybody needed to copy Grayson on everything, so you couldn't. It was like, well, include Grayson. Grayson's very important, very important. Okay. So Grayson talked me into doing not one but 2 IEEE papers. These were a pain in the butt, but at least I got paid to write them. And I went up to IEEE conference in Portland. Thousands and thousands of people, probably 10,000 people, all wearing gray suits and gray weather, gray hair, whatever it might be. And I went to my session. I was all practiced to do this talk, and there was about 6 people there, including Roger Levy, which will come around here. 6 people. Tom Henneberger was another one. And I'm going, tens of thousands of people at this conference, and load management gets so. Anyway, I asked Roger, because he was on some load management committee, and he was just pissed. He was like, man, I guess it's, well, and I realized, I didn't realize, I thought he was just mad at the time, but he turns out he's always mad. But then I went back to EPRI, and I said, why doesn't the DSM industry have its own organization? And I went to Clark Gellings, and Clark said, that's a good idea, and let me help you kind of spearhead this. And I went to the National DSM conference and kind of pitched the idea of starting a nonprofit, and we did it. And again, I had no idea what I was doing. I think I was 29 at the time. Put together, assembled a board of directors. John Chamberlain was on the board at the time. And ADSMP turned into AESP during the transition. And it's now in its 36th year with thousands and thousands of members and supporters, and just massive amounts. So I've just been happy to see AESP survive and grow. And I had some hard times during DREG. So anyway, Grayson, just to let you know, you were kind of the beginning of rolling that ball down the hill. And again, Clark just said, Bill, why don't you go do it? And I didn't know better than not to do it. So have a great time on the boat. Have some drinks. Maybe a gin and tonic is what I would have been drinking on the boat. And thank you, Mike, for putting it together, and Valerie for doing that. And take photos. I know I must look older than the last time you saw me, because I am older, but so are you. All right, we will get stories. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your patience. Bye.